again this morning. I'm Rev Therese. Everyone who's watching us from wherever you all are, and all of those who I heard from this week, we've got quite a few people traveling. Carolyn is in Morocco doing liturgical dance at 85, y'all. So guess what? We can do whatever we want to do. We are grateful. So this morning as I was preparing, I get up pretty early on Sunday, and we have someone visiting from Ohio, and they were up early too, so I got to play some music early. And so I sang all the songs that I love to sing, and it's amazing when we take time to listen to words, and that's why Penny and Jan and I spend time making sure that the music weaves in with what it is that we're also saying. And so the song that I was singing early, well, at least I thought I was singing, was called To Be by Faith Rivera. And it's called To Be the Glory Here on Earth So All May See. So when we start our days from that, how can we be anything less than magnificent? How can we forget how great and wonderful and cool and beautiful and ambitious and all of the other words that describe us? And we forget because we allow our monkey mind, or what we call our ego mind, to in fact take over. So what do you think about what I have on the slide? So for those of you at home who can't read it, it says, warning, if you hang out with me for too long, I'll brainwash you into believing in yourself and thinking that you can achieve anything. And there's tulips. I didn't design this meme, somebody else did that. But tulips start as a little bulb, and where are they put? In the dirt, in the dark, in the muck, and the worms, and all of that in there, and they come up, right? And they're beautiful. So that's what today's about, remembering the truth of who you are. Now, of course, what your bulletin says is it's the 4 agreements. It's because I printed this on Thursday, and then Spirit's been having its way with me. But I'll talk to you about 4 agreements, and there's several of them. The ones that we've studied were the ones from Miguel Ruiz. Miguel is his middle name, right? And so we know that's be impeccable with your word. Wow. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. So those are great things. We studied them last year. We're going to study them again. Why? Because we all do this when we forget how spectacular we are. So when I'm less than thinking, when my thinking is less than, woo, Teresa's all that, then I probably am making an assumption, or I took something personal, or maybe I'm not really impeccable with my word, or I settle for mediocrity. Well, that doesn't serve anybody, let alone me in my life, right? But there's other ways of having 4 agreements. Science tells us that the way that we live, the 4 basic elements that we need, water, air, food, and light. Yes? Well, isn't it interesting then, of course, that the Bible, which is the book that we use as our way showing, would then take that and figure out, well, how can those 4 elements help me live scripturally? So we now know that in the Gospels that Jesus told us that we are, right? He is and we are the living water. We are the breath of life. We are the bread of life and the light of the world. So who says science and spirituality don't mix? Be careful who you're listening to, yes? And how is it that we show up as the living water, or the breath of life, or the bread of life, or the light of the world? We get to decide that. Here at Unity, we'll give you many paths to choose from, and the moment somebody tells you what to do, say thank you very much, turn around and walk away. All right? Agreed? Agreed. All right. Because we don't know what's best for you. Nobody knows that. Now, if you're in a counseling situation, something, that's great. However, we don't always know. So there's 4 other ways that can help us live life from love first, because this is the month of love, February. Fully engaged, we can be embracing life, we can be empowered by our life and our living, and we can love life and living. So 2 weeks ago, we gave away $10. Sorry for all y'all who weren't here, but we decided as a board to pay it forward. And so I would like to turn on the microphone first, but I'm gonna have two people come forward and tell us how it is, first of all, how cool is it that you come to church and someone gives you $10, right? And then how is it that you pay it forward? So I would like to call forward Ty and Natalie. Please. And nobody else in this congregation was brave enough to come forward. Not judging, just saying, right? So if you'll stand up here on what we call the bima, right? So you can be on camera. Let me just make sure that you look good. Hold on. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so can you hear me on this? Yes? So these two, first Sunday here, showed up and got $10. So would you, how cool is that? Wouldn't you want to be, how old are you, Ty?
9.
9. And Natalie?
11.
11. How different would your lives be if you went to church, first of all, and liked it on Sunday when you were 9 and 11, and then you got $10? Right? Yeah. So, who would like to speak?
I would like to speak first.
All right. So just hold it like an ice cream cone.
I donated my money to my school for the school play that they're having.
Great. So are we invited to the play? Can we come to the play?
I guess.
You guess? I'll talk to your mom, yes? All right, we'll find out when it is and maybe we all want to show up. Do you have a part in the play? Not yet? No, okay. All right, Natalie?
Recently, a kid in the school, his house burned down, and so I donated my $10 to their family.
So what did you think about receiving money when you came to church? I know the food was good in the back, but what about you come to church, you're sitting with all us old folks, and you receive $10?
It just was weird because I usually just don't randomly get $10.
Right. Especially from people you don't know, right? Yeah. How about you, Natalie?
I thought it was cool, but it was kind of strange too. You were giving $10 away and we didn't give you anything, so I kind of felt guilty about it. So.
Oh. All right. So what did they give us? Their presents. You bless us by being here. Right? So let's give them our unity blessing. You put your hands out, and we're going to, so you receive, that's how you receive energy. So up big, really big and wide, spread your fingers wide, and we say, Natalie and Ty, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ as you. Thank you guys. Okay, we're done now. I'm serious. How different would your life be if you knew that life was going to be okay when you were 9 and 11? Yeah? So my mission always is to have children around, and so they don't want to go into a school separate from us right now. Well, we don't have one to offer, but they're like, no, we're cool, we'll just sit with y'all. So I'm like, okay. And their mom and dad are as well. So how about we have an agreement with ourselves to come, to be open, to be receptive, to think, wow, those people are weird, but I kind of like them. Yeah, I know some of you think that. It's all right. Because if you try to be like another is when the individuality of you goes away. And the individuality is the idea that was created in the mind of God that created you. That's why take a moment, look around, and see how beautiful God is. And at home, look in the mirror. Turn around, turn the other way now, and look at somebody. Right? So the face of God is us. Today, whatever you do this afternoon or this evening, you may be the only face of God anybody sees today. By opening the door, by smiling, by saying hello. It's not always about having to give physical money or something else. It's about being in the presence that you are And that's why, if you take nothing away, Ty and Natalie, your being present in any situation shifts the consciousness and helps us realize, oh my gosh, how often are we not acting from our childlike wonder? Who giggles every day? Raise your hand. That's your assignment for this week. Find something that makes you giggle and just laugh. And get out all of those things. Find wonder. Yesterday I went on a walk, and what do I first find right outside my front door as I get onto the street? A penny. Of course I would find a penny, right? Because my beloved is always telling me all is well. Also, all is going to be provided for you, Therese, for the rest of your life. And look for the things that shine in life. So I make stories up about the pennies that I find, obviously, yes? You'll find other things, tulips, butterflies, cocoons, rainbows, who knows, really, extra fries at lunch, I'm not sure. But you're gonna find something that makes your heart sing and giggle and say, I know that was you, I know that was you. So we get to engage life, we get to embrace life, we get to honor and empower life. But that means we have to what? Put aside our ego self. Put aside the, I don't know, I'm tired, or I'm so busy. And usually those who are baking usually put flour on their forehead before they say that, like, I've been baking all day, right? So one of the things I say in my family is get off the cross, we need the wood. I'm not invited home very often. But I take my home with me wherever I am. Because we're not here, and I know as a kid I learned that the more you sacrifice, the more martyr that you are, you're going to get to heaven first. Well, what do we know in unity? Heaven is where? Right here, right now. And if it's not, what do? Shift our consciousness. It's not a geographical location. Doesn't mean that when we go, it's not going to be great, but heaven and hell, who's been in hell? Yeah, I hope not yet today, it's only 10:30, right? But we've been to those places. And so when we shift our mind and go, wait a minute, what am I thinking? Or how am I being influenced by my thoughts? The shift happens, and seriously, the healing begins of our mind, of our attitude, and of our body. And then you're more pleasant to be around. Because we all know people that aren't pleasant to be around, don't we? They're not here. They're not here, but somewhere in our life, right? So if we remember 100% of the time that God is good and that we are beloved children of God, then what happens? Goodness. However you label that to be. It could be like, for me, finding the penny right out the door. It could be that it didn't rain while I was walking. Whatever it is, we can make it up. And our job is to write the story. Remember when Reverend Mindy was here? We are the ones who have the pencil or the pen or the typewriter or the computer. How are you writing your story? And do you need to write a new one? Remember, even that day she said she needed to write a new one. Right? So how are you living from being on purpose? I learned something new this week. I try to learn something new every day, but something that really I could not let go of. And it was in the Course of Miracles class with Michael on Thursday. And we meet here first and third Thursdays from 10 to noon. And he talked about the word alone. A-L-O-N-E. Okay. Well, what he said was, it really means all, A-L, one. We're all one. I have a fascination with words, right? So I had never heard this before. I had never thought of it before. And so that's what I've been sitting with. How many people do we know who say, well, I don't want to go alone. I've said that this week to a function. I don't want to go alone. Well, you can't ever be alone, anybody. We're always with ourselves, which is a big deal. If you don't think so, ask a friend, right? But all one. So I want you to think about that as those moments creep in our minds that go, I don't know, all that monkey mind and all that less than positive talk that happens to us. And imagine if Ty and Natalie don't have that chatter start. Can't wait to know them when they're 80. I don't know, I'll be 159 or something, but still, right? So alone, all one. That's your takeaway for the day, if you didn't know that yet. Besides just that those two had more courage than you all to talk about your money. I did hear from some wonderful stories where one person put it in a box so that it would be given to whatever organizations their church, their other church, would fund. Someone else said, I had no idea holding the ribbon-tied $10 bill in my hand would remind me forever that God is my source. And that we're the resources, with tears coming down. Someone else said, I paid for the coffee behind me. Someone else paid for the toll behind them. And stories and stories and stories. And we're going to invite you to be mindful and actually write down how it is you blessed somebody. So Janet Johnson, who made our prayer stoles, and who is so creative, said to me, hey, I think we should have a board, Reverend Therese. I'm like, great, make it. So it says, who was blessed by your gift? And I didn't ask your permission, but I'm asking your permission now. The children at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So we're going to have markers, and this is going to be in the back when we have our fellowship. And you just get to write down how it is you blessed somebody. And then we're going to know this to be true. And we're going to put it out every week, and people will keep adding how it is that you blessed somebody by being and receiving the blessing. So Janet, thank you for that. We are grateful for you. So how do you be loving in the world? How do you live empowered and engaged? I would recommend that you might start the day in quiet or end the day in quiet or be quiet sometime during the day. And the question I always get is, are you ever, Reverend Therese? And I are. That's the only way we can get up to do this kind of work on Sunday, yes? Or to sit in the hospital, or to sit with somebody when they get a diagnosis to help shift the consciousness. And so this is what life's about, being on purpose for God, whatever that looks like for you. And how is it then that you get to shift continuously? And every time something irks you, that's a word my father would have used. Wow, that came in loud and clear. If something's bugging you, right? Take a moment and say, what is it that's bugging me about this? What am I supposed to learn from this situation, from this person, from this interaction, from the lousy service, or whatever it is that we're making a judgment about? Therein lies your lesson for the day. Now, my lessons sometimes come 2 or 3 days later. So I sent a text to my coach this week. I said, I think I finally figured something out. And they wrote back, oh, good. I was waiting for them to give me feedback, like, this is wonderful, Therese. Yes, you got it. Nobody knows my answers, right? Nobody knows your answers. We get to figure that out. However, here, through classes or through the prayer chaplains or whatever other programs we might have, we might give you some suggestions. And then you get to decide, do you want to put them on? How do they fit in? Not for me. You get to decide, always and in all ways. And how do we differentiate between, the will of God and the will of Therese? Every moment we get to decide that, right? Well, you're not deciding the will of Therese, obviously. You're deciding your own will, right? Don't get confused. Don't confuse me with you, right? So how do you take life and see, how am I wearing it? How am I embracing it? How am I engaging it? We get to decide. Our own Pat Bell turned this week and got to spend it with her sisters, riding bikes, spending time, having fun, laughing. When's the last time you really, I was serious about the giggling, when's the last time you really laughed? Because it changes the molecular chemistry in our body. How many of you wait for all of your ducks to be in a row before you do anything? Raise your hand. Well, have you ever watched ducks on the pond? Do they ever get in a row? Probably not. And mama doesn't worry about it. She gets in the water, she starts floating, and here come the little chickadees behind her, right? So this is what it is. Inviting God into our lives, the universe, source, spirit, whatever you call it, something greater than ourselves, and say, hey, what's mine to do today? That's what the two kids did when they received the money. I still haven't done anything with my money. It's still nicely on my little altar, rolled up, it's tied so well. I'm not sure what I'm being called to do with that, but I'll let you know when that happens. So what we know is there's never going to be ducks in a row, and now is the only moment that we have. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that we are here to awaken from the illusion of separation. And Buddha tells us, with a laughter, we think we have time. The time is now. It's called the present because it's a gift to you. And you get to say to yourself, I am all that in 2 bags of chips, right? Because if your self-talk isn't that of kindness and loving words and adoration of sorts, not from the ego, but from that, the truth of who you are as a beloved child of God, then it will never come from somebody else because you'll never be able to hear it. I only know this because I've lived it, yes? So we always know that we're called to be. Rev Therese says that. Called to be a prayer. Called to be a prayer. Wouldn't that be great if someone said, so what do you do for your living? You said, well, I'm a prayer. Try it. You'll scare some people. You'll scare a lot of people. But who cares, right? Who cares? You only want people in your life that get it, correct? So when we stay grounded in the truth of our magnificence, from the truth being we're born in the image and after the likeness of all that's great and good, which is what we call God in unity, then that keeps us going forward with every step we take and every breath we take, being on purpose for God, and gathering the momentum to say, hey, you know what? I'm done being stuck. I'm going to figure out how I can be as adventurous or mindfully present as the next person. We're going to have our annual meeting after this, while we're having a little bit of nashi food to, always balance that blood sugar and things like that. And we're going to talk about how we envisioned this sacred space, didn't we? It's so fabulous. It's just great. So how are you loving God, loving yourself, and loving your neighbor? That's what you get to figure out this week. And the 4th agreement is to be on purpose. And this whole month we've been talking about love because whenever someone says, what do you think my purpose is here? I'll say to be love, expressing. Now, y'all know this. I am not always love expressing, am I? And I don't want my sister-in-law in the back row to be laughing too loudly back there, right? Because we all have human moments and they interfere with our spiritual lives because we're spiritual beings having human awakenings. And some are a little tougher than others, aren't they? And so what I want to say to you today is that I'm grateful for you. We are grateful for you. We'll be explaining some of that in our meeting. And today is the 7th anniversary of my husband getting his angel wings. And so when I listened to the song Called to Be, because that was his favorite song in tears at O Dark 100, I thought, yes, this is my call to be the minister here at Unity. I don't know what life would be like if he was here. It doesn't matter because, again, it's not, right? So we don't want to argue with reality. We want to be present in the moment and say, oh, how blessed I am that I had him in my life. I had her in my life. I had the puppy. I had the kitty, whatever it is. And that's the gift that time gives me, right? Also, when you look numerically, 7 is the completion of creativity. So watch out, world. I've got a whole new box of 64 Crayolas, right? Because now after a 7-year period, you got to start again. So I got Crayolas and I got the markers, the washable kind of markers, yes? So we get to understand every day is a gift. We get to choose how it is we're going to be a gift and present in the moment. We get to understand that science and spirituality, religion, whatever you might call it, do mix together in the name of God, because we are thankful for the water that we get to drink, and we bless all of those in Flint, Michigan who are still dealing with that. We are grateful for the air that we breathe. I'd like for you all to hold Glenn in your prayers this week, because we know that he breathes with oxygen and the assist of oxygen. We're grateful for that. Food. Wait till you go into the back. We have food. I don't know what's back there. It doesn't matter. I do know Theta's here, which means there are deviled eggs. We are grateful. We have missed you. Just saying, right? And we have light. We have light here. We have the light that Joan lit on the candle, right? And we are the light of the world. And that's our job every day, to remember that. So let's take a moment and close our outer eyes and know the truth and say to yourself, I am blessed.
I am blessed.
And say to yourself out loud as well, I am love.
I am love.
I heard some of you put a D on that. So let's say it twice, once with love and once with the D on it, which is loved. I am love, and I am loved. So if you have no other mantras, every time the world has its way with you and it's a little too much, close your outer eyes and say that. Let it resonate in your body and fall on your body. And you breathe it in, and you know it to be true. Your breath matters. Your physical body matters to us here as a congregation, but most importantly, it's your presence, which we know does not always mean that your physical body is going to be here. Sometimes you're on vacation, you may be at home, wherever it is that you are. Know that each time we gather, we embrace the physical presence of everybody, all of those who are with us on Facebook, and all of those who are here, and those who are elsewhere. Because what we know to be true, especially in 2019, is that church is where the people are. It has nothing to do with a building. And so we breathe into that knowing, and we exhale. And as you're comfortable, put your hand on your heart and let your mind go to gratitude. Whether you count your blessings in the morning or you count them at night or in the middle of the day, it doesn't matter, just count them. And always, as you're comfortable, put yourself at the top of your blessing list. Born in the image and after the likeness of God, which means we are great. We are wonderful and magnificent and beautiful and the very breath of God expressing in this physical world. Let that settle in your mind and your heart right now. And each time we put our hand on our heart, it helps us remember to move from our mind and our brain and the activity to the quiet and the calm of our heart. And know that we know here at Unity of Hilton Head that we are a circle on a journey, and that your presence completes the circle of today. And that those who were with us last week completed our circle then, and those who will be with us next week will complete us as well. The very presence of God being present to the presence of God in another. That's what a spiritual community is. And that's what we are. And we're grateful for all of our blessings, seen and unseen. Let the blessing of who you are surround you. Support your back and bring a smile to your face. And say to yourself quietly, I am magnificent. And breathe into that knowing. No one ever gets to take that away from you. It's your truth. And as we bring our attention back to this time and this place and these sacred and holy grounds we call Unity of Hilton Head, we say thank you. Thank you, thank you. And Maya Angelou says, each of us is created from the love of God, the love that builds up the broken walls, the love that straightens the crooked roads, the love that keeps the stars in the firmament and imposes rhythm upon the ocean tides. Each of us, you and me, are created from this love. And she says we are created for it. And so we breathe into that knowing. And if you're comfortable, go ahead and give yourself a hug. And stay in this contemplative time and this kind of attitude as we shift into one of gratitude even greater as we prepare our love offerings. And you're invited to open your eyes as you're comfortable. And we sing a song that says, I am so blessed. And each and every one of you is invited to come up the center aisle. And as you get to the front table, there's a love offering basket. And if you have something to put in there, dark chocolate is acceptable. Go ahead and put that in there. But most importantly, put your hand over the basket and bless us. And then on the side are affirmations, and go ahead and take one of those, because what we know to be true is as we give, we receive, and we receive and we give, and that's the life called generosity. And so let's sing our song together, please. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. We're going to keep singing, and you're going to keep walking up the center aisle and go back The side aisle, please.
So grateful
For all that I have.